Hello and welcome in. I am MissKinghorn and we are back here in The Sims 4. It's been a little while. But yeah, here we are. We are also back in our StrangerVille collection. This is number 3 that we've done here now. I was actually having a look back through all of my videos that I've done, and I've still got one from the medieval save or collection to do. I will get to that at some point, maybe, possibly, perhaps. Yeah, I totally actually forgot all about it. Anyhow, we are back here and we are doing an apartment complex, I guess. This has 4 apartments in it. There is a 1-bedroom and then there are 3 2-bedrooms. Now, I have kind of cheated. I have only furnished 2 of them. The other 2, admittedly, are the bigger ones, are like their kitchens are in, their bathrooms are in, they're ready to like move in, so they've kind of got like all the walls are in, the floors, the walls, all of that's all sort of done. And they've got like their kitchen counters and then like space that I've set out for like the cooker and that. But I haven't done the rest of it. I haven't like furnished them. I haven't provided you with like even some of the basics like the cooker, because I feel like you would bring that yourselves. At least that's my experience of when I moved into a place. It didn't have any of that. I just had like the counters, like the bath, the toilet, that sort of thing. So that's kind of what I was doing. In my head, I feel like that's probably a little bit more normal. I don't know, let me know in the comments if that is. But yeah, while we have been waffling about all of that, we have been busy building this building. Now, I'm kind of taking this on a kind of bit of a weird little kind of zone. I don't necessarily know how to describe it. The kind of style I'm going for. I apologise for this blue in there. I finally managed to get rid of it. I did originally have this as a rental lot, like a residential rental, but then I couldn't get rid of it, so I ended up actually having to change it to just a normal residential at this point. So you'll notice that things have slightly changed. That was just me doing some technical work. But yeah, we are kind of going for like an urban, kind of brutalist, kind of dirty kind of look. I absolutely love my bad apartments, which kind of actually looks very similar to this. I've got a refurb, slightly different. I was actually watching, like, I had images from that video up on my screen as I was building that. So yeah, a little bit of inspiration for myself there. But yeah, I kind of actually really like that sort of style. It's so not me personally, but I just love how it all kind of comes together, and you guys seem to like it as well. There's some of my more popular videos. I like the grungy, dirty kind of look. I don't know whether that's because maybe not many people are doing them. I don't know. Let me know into here. But yeah, we are sort of using that gorgeous sort of concrete in there with the dark red brickwork. And things like that. And now we're actually going to kind of get in different apartments and sort of set everything all out. And then I scroll ridiculously long through debug, live edit, and pretty much everything else just to try and kind of make this feel a little bit more useful. So you might actually notice here there's only 3 doors. I was only going to do 3 apartments. I was going to do a 3-bedroom, a 2, and another 2. The ground floor is ridiculously large, so I cut it into 2. So behind this sort of like cut out of the stairs here, there is actually going to be another door. I'm not entirely sure I show you that because it took me forever to try and work out the floor plans for these. Yeah. So a slightly older disclaimer as well. I feel like I've done a lot of those already and we're only 5 minutes in. This was a video I said to you last week. If you are following the 4 Corner 6 Garden series, you would have noticed I said I had started a video that should have come out, the game updated, my mods didn't work, I couldn't finish it. This is that build. So this bit is done pre-update, and then I come in and do a lot more of the exterior work, and then also the interiors after the update. So that just kind of gives you a little bit of a timeline of that in there, because I came in and my game just did not look right, and yeah, I was not happy with it. So that's basically where we ended up. I just could not build in this. Although I had the save, I had all of those sorts of things, I had the build, I could not find anything, I did not like the way it looked, and I am much better with a bit of build by in there, and obviously a tool, which you're going to see a lot of in this video. Anyhow, we are slowly pulling out some of the StrangerVille sort of items. My sort of go-to packs for this are basically StrangerVille, obviously, also Love Struck, and I think it's actually Get to Work. No, not Get to Work. Growing Together. Yeah, I think they're kind of the packs I used quite a bit of, at least I think. In here we've kind of got a lot of those items in here, so I feel like they're probably the big ones, but you can obviously have a look when you go and download this off the gallery. It will tell you all of the items, but I feel like from the exterior, and then obviously, like, I think we even use like vampires for some work, for some like decals and stuff. There's quite a few of those, you're gonna see them, so brace yourselves into here. Now we kind of had this big front section. This build I feel like could work in Snowy Escapes, it could kind of work in Tomorrowing, it could work a few other places. I have my heart set on placing it here. It doesn't really fit with the world. You kind of notice there's a big sort of like pavement outside, and then we go into concrete, so yeah, it doesn't quite fit, but I kind of like how it works here, if that kind of makes any sense. I just feel like this is the perfect place for it, but obviously you can move it to wherever you like into there. And yeah, this sort of front section, I've got a small little car park coming in. We do actually change some of this up, so don't get too attached to certain things, because yeah, I come around and move and change a few bits and pieces. But we do also have a small little back section here. I actually come through and I place a couple of sort of picnic tables and things like that out the back here. I'm not entirely sure I actually show you that, because there's not really a lot that goes on out the back there. It was just a case of I had a little bit of extra space, and I thought that would be the perfect place for those into there as well. And then a little bit of a security kind of fence. I feel like this area kind of just looks like it needed an extra little fence around the front here, maybe to stop bits flying up from cars or rubbish or whatever. I just felt like that entrance would work into there. And yeah, I found this little scrapped old kind of like beat up half of a car, and I thought, you know what, why not indeed. It kind of works, it kind of doesn't, but hey, if I'm ever going to use it, it's probably in a build like this, so why not. Into here, I kind of like the bollards on one side. They do actually slightly change, and I actually get the fence, like the brick wall along the front section of it, just to kind of tie that in a little bit more and keep it a little bit more enclosed. But you'll kind of see I'm just randomly going through all of the sort of live edit here, pulling out random little pieces just to try and make it make a little bit more sense. And yeah, I actually really like how this turned out. As I said at the beginning, this was not my kind of go-to preferred style, but I actually find it really easy to build in this style, which is really weird. So yeah, this didn't take me as long as I was expecting it to. I kind of was like, oh, this is going to be forever, I'm going to have difficulty, yada yada yada. No, I think I sat down and I think I did like the exterior of this in probably like close to an hour and a half, which for me is pretty good going because I am a really slow builder and I get distracted way too easily. So yeah, there's that, but you know, I got there in the end, and as you can see, I have now finished that brick like the wall along the front, and this kind of chain linked kind of closed gate in there I thought just really worked, because it's like a private car park for these apartment blocks, so maybe they would have like a special key or something that they would have to unlock it with as well. It just made a little bit more sense in there. And then this old kind of little mailbox, I think it's even supposed to be like a newspaper stand. I've got a feeling it's like an American one. I don't necessarily know if they're available anywhere else in the world. I'm literally going off of TV shows for that, so let me know. I don't think it's actually like, I think it's probably the one from Snowy Escapes if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, yeah, moving on into there. Just a few more little bits and pieces, random items that I think actually kind of don't work, but surprisingly enough they do work in this kind of build, if that makes any sense. Like, I would not necessarily throw some of these items together or ever kind of use them ever, but they kind of work here, which I love into here. And then the decals, you are going to see me using a lot of these, both interior and exterior, for those. So I think I said something when I did the bad apartments, I would not like to live here. Well, this is another one of those. I would not like to live here. This is, yeah, probably one of the worst builds in terms of kind of just grossness I think I've done, and I've done quite a few of those. I think I did a single guy's apartment where he was just divorced and like had no money and basically had to live in like a dump. In the bad apartments, I said I can probably I'll put up a card in the top corner for the bad apartments, because look at them side by side, I'll just pop it that way, and have a look at those into there, and you'll sort of see the differences and the similarities of the two builds in there. But yeah, decals, I actually only show you the front of doing this. This probably took the longest period of time actually doing the decals and just sort of layering things on top of each other, because it just looks, yeah, disgusting and gross and amazing. If those words ever work together. Anyhow, let me know what you think down in the comments section. Always interested to know if you are loving my builds, if you are hating them, but in a good way. Let me know down below for all of those. And yeah, I think we should nearly, hopefully, fingers crossed, be done with the exterior of all of this. So I actually tried to kind of soften some of this up with lots of plants, which I think actually makes it kind of work even more. Like, they're trying maybe a tad too hard to make this work, which I love. It's, again, I tend to use plants for softening and for like just decoration and corners and things like that, but I think in here it actually doesn't soften it up. It kind of just makes it more obvious that it's so dirty. I don't know. Anyway, we have now jumped down into the 1-bedroom apartment down here on the ground floor. Now, as I said, this is accessible via a door just behind that sort of main double staircase that you sort of saw in there. So this is one I have fully furnished. There is another one downstairs which is a 2-bedroom, which I haven't done. But this one I kind of had, maybe like in my head, was like a kind of a young adult or like a late kind of teen who's maybe run away from home for whatever reason. And they're out on their own with very little money, and they're trying to start a life, and this is like all they could afford in this like really cheap, poor kind of area. that's kind of what I had in my head, that maybe they're like a late kind of high schooler or just started sort of university, something like that in there. So I didn't clutter the kitchen up too much here, and I actually show you my scrolling because why not? I like to do this once in a while. In here there are a few bits and pieces. This is a new bug I have found. Even though I have like the counters on, they don't snap, or they sort of change shape in a weird way. I think it actually is a little bit more prevalent upstairs. I had such a nightmare with it. But yeah, I think that's a new bug from the update. I'm not entirely sure if that was fixed in the update patch that I think has come out since. I'm not entirely sure. I've got to be honest, I have just literally been bulk recording, so I've actually got next week's video all recorded for you as well. I've just got to edit that, which actually is going to be more time consuming than actually recording it, because I think I managed to do that in like 4 hours, and I can tell you editing is going to take probably about 6-7. So yeah, but anyway, I kind of wanted to have a blue kind of apartment in here. It was kind of an all-in-one kind of kitchen, living, dining space in here. This apartment is not the biggest, but that's actually kind of hilarious because the two I furnished are not that big. The two I didn't are massive, hence the reason I didn't furnish them. But yeah, I actually really like this apartment. Again, it's not something I would live in. It's not kind of me, but you know, I do go around and debug, put all the decals and stuff in to make them kind of really horrible and stuff like that. But anyway, we've got this really nice sofa. Actually, I actually really like this sofa in here, and then we get out a little armchair in there as well that kind of matches, but it's not from the same kit in there. And then also grab a TV. I kind of feel like this is a very kind of old, like you've kind of bought stuff at like the sort of salvage, like you've kind of gone to like auctions, you've kind of just bought stuff offline that's like second hand, that kind of thing, like a little bit more thrifty in there than kind of you would normally do. But I like this little fan in here because there's no AC, and I feel like in this desert kind of StrangerVille, a nice little bit of air conditioning probably would be a good option, but we don't have that. I do just place 2 little fans in each of the, or 1 fan in each apartment, let's put it that way, into here. And now just putting out a little bit of a rug just to go on the floor, just to kind of soften it up a little bit. But I feel like, again, it doesn't quite work in there, which means it works perfectly in here as well. And then just a couple of throw cushions just to kind of match that blue kind of vibe that I'm bringing in to this. As I said, I feel like this was a kind of single young adult who's at university or something and like didn't want to live in the dorms or couldn't afford to live in the dorms, so it's just got this really bad kind of apartment into here. And I also put in this little old retro phone. I had in my mind that like this was to cool down to like buzz people in, which I then realised was completely stupid because they could just like walk through the gate. But you know, the idea was there. Like, yeah, maybe it's just like a little security feature that they've put in at some point when this was a nice apartment building before it kind of got bought over by, I'm not going to say a slamlord, but somebody who maybe is more in it for the money than looking after the place. Anyway, this is the bedroom. I actually kind of do a 180 in here and we kind of go quite dark, but I feel like that kind of has an effect. Like I wasn't entirely sure what I really wanted for this space. So we've kind of got this little rug in here, which has kind of got like the sort of face on it, and I felt like this bed with a high school poster, like maybe it's like the one they have from home and they've just brought it with them or something like that. And then this sort of scruffy kind of desk works perfectly in here with what I wanted. And then lots of books for studying and things like that. Maybe they're trying to better themselves from whatever environment they have sort of come from into there, and they really want to kind of make it a little bit better for themselves and get a good job and a good home, good apartment somewhere not quite so bad into here. Now this room was a little bit tight in space. Now I did playtest this and you can access both sides of the bed. In the end we just changed it to a lamp in there instead of a bedside table. I feel like you've got the desk on the other side, and I maybe don't use that other side of the bed too much because there's no dresser, like there's nothing over there. But yeah, you can still access the bed from that side, and obviously the desk's on the other side, so you can use that to have a drink or put your phone on or whatever when you go to bed in real life. But you know, this is The Sims in here. I also kind of thought this guy was maybe a bit of a conspiracy theorist. Lots of kind of posters for maybe like nights out or kind of just like secret clubs or bits and pieces like that. I did actually place a few classified documents around the place, like maybe he's found them and like he's reading into the law of sort of StrangerVille or something like that. That's kind of what I was thinking in my head when I was sort of making this place up in here. But now we're going to make it all yucky. It would have been alright if I'd sort of stopped, but no. This is me we're talking about, and I go for disgusting mode. Anyway, there's quite a few areas where I have not placed these, so like in the living room and stuff, we actually do go back through and do all of those and fix that up. And yeah, you know when you're looking for something, yeah, I can never find this billboard, kind of like, I don't know why, I just can never find it. But anyway, a few more folders and a few more little bits of secret work going in around the place into there. Maybe don't tell the secret agents into there, but you lucky people actually get to see a bathroom. Yeah, yeah, surprise. Into here. So this is quite a small little space. There wasn't really too much to do in here, but I felt like you haven't seen one for a while, so I figured why not in there. And again, play tested and made sure you can work and walk through with here because it is a little bit tight, and I didn't necessarily know if that space between the sink and the toilet, it looks huge, but you know what The Sims is like. Their hitboxes are, I feel like I'm saying this a lot, ridiculous in there. So I've placed those in and around, and then yeah, more yuckiness coming through. And there's a water leak. You've tried to contact the landlord, but you know, the shower just still drips into there. And then a few little paint splodges and little marks on the floor, and yeah, a bit of holes in the wall and mould growing, because you know what, why not, into there. And yeah, now just coming out into the living area to place a few more in. I don't think I go OTT out here, to say it as I can't actually remember. Maybe I did. But I feel like I resisted a little bit into there. But now we're going to jump up into the top floor. So this is actually now in the sort of roof apartment, I guess you could say. This actually has quite a big outside area attached to it. This is a 2-bedroom one, and I actually do this for a mum and a kid, hence why there is the marbles set outside and things like that, because I feel like this mum was a kind of a teenage mum. She had her kid really early and she's sort of been struggling, but she's trying to do so much better for her kid. And yeah, you'll notice the furniture actually in here is slightly different than downstairs. It's not a little bit it's not trodden on, it's not repurposed, it's not any of that. I feel like this mum is really trying to make the home environment as best as she could for her kid, but she's still living in this really awful apartment. This is where I said about the new bug. I don't necessarily know what's wrong with it. You'll see me here, I am flapping around trying to fix it. What is going on? One, why has the counter changed to an L shape? And two, where did my sink disappear to? because I feel like I've paid for that sink twice now. So if you're wondering about the prices, yeah, it's that sink. Anyhow, a little bit more clutter up here with this, but again, a nice sort of big kitchen, lots of counters and things like that for them. And I went to my go-to kind of favourite, my kitchen clutter kit into there, and nice soft pinks. I feel like we've kind of gone for this apartment into here, but a little bit bigger kitchen wise, probably a little bit bigger of an apartment, I've got to be honest, given the fact this is also a 2-bed into there. But you can sort of see I've tried to make this look a little bit nicer. And yeah, we're now going to get a kid's picture wall. It has been so long since I've done one of these, and I kind of like it into there. So we've kind of gone for the summery kind of vibe. I feel like lots of kids artwork and bits and pieces, and yeah, just a really nice cool little place just to sort of decorate the place, because I feel like the kid kind of want to put their own little stamp on the place, and mum's maybe trying to cover up some stuff in there of some not so nice stuff. In here you are going to see me kind of, I'm looking for an item and I knew it's here somewhere, but I can't find it. In the end, I think I randomly do come across it. Yeah, here we go. It's these kind of little artwork pieces of the little horse, the unicorn and the flowers, and I feel like that just finishes off that little section in there. I do make sure when we come to the kids' bedroom that we do place in the like drawing arts table thing, just to make a little bit more sense in there. I feel like the kid is very crafty and very kind of, they do a lot of artwork and stuff like that. But moving over to the living space, going for this gorgeous pink sofa. I absolutely love this kind of, it's slightly used, but it's not like disgusting. It's not like, so like, it doesn't look old, it just looks like a little bit used, nice and soft squidgy sofa, which I love. And yeah, also placed down a little stool that I think is also kind of like a little soft kind of table kind of area for maybe just playing on, lounging around, jumping on, that sort of thing. If you've got a kid, they're going to do those sorts of things into there. And also placed another little lamp in. We do get a few more toys in the place as well, because it's looking a little bit empty. And you'll sort of see I shuffle lots of stuff around to make this all make a little bit more sense in here. She does actually have quite a few toys in her bedroom as well, but you know, I feel like a nice little kids area. Again, yeah, don't ask, bugs, yuck. Anyway, nice little unicorn decoration on the coffee table into there. I feel like this is a space that is heavily influenced by the kid in here, which I like. I feel like I'm saying that a lot. Probably too much. I should maybe put a clicker on to see how many times. Anyway, over here we've kind of got a nice little entranceway table where the mum's put her phone down, and yeah, just sort of nice little bits and pieces, and trying to find a rug that would actually really work in here. I think in the end we kind of go for this sort of neutral one here. We've kind of got like pink threads running through it that I thought was quite a nice little item. As I said, the mum is really trying with this apartment. If I stopped here, I think this could actually be a really nice apartment, but you know what, I don't. Spoiler alert for what's coming up ahead, but I don't stop here. But yeah, anyway, moving on to the parents' bedroom. This is actually quite a large bedroom, but yeah, we kind of get in quite a bit of sort of detail work into here. So she's kind of got, although this is for really like a single adult in here, I kind of figured she would maybe have like a big plant on the opposite bedside table, because there's nothing over there. But she's kind of got her light, her alarm clock, her phone's outside, so she doesn't really go to bed with that. But that's kind of what I was thinking just in here. And then she's also got a small little wardrobe and a desk for doing maybe her work, or like maybe she's at university as well, part-time or something in there. That's kind of what I had in my head for this lady. Okay, so I liked the bright pink of the bed-in. in there, it kind of just adds another sort of layer into this. But now we're going to jump over into the kids' bedroom. Now, this one, I cut quite a bit of this out, and I'm sorry for that. I could not get this to quite work. I had so many items I wanted in here, I just could not get them to all fit in here. So yeah, you'll see I'm shuffling and moving and rearranging in here. I wanted the desk, I obviously need a dresser, a bed. I knew we were going to have the arts and crafts table in here. I actually changed it out for this one, a little bit more pink and purpley kind of vibe, going on into this room. And then found a gorgeous rug that kind of matches the bed into here. And then I did try to put that other one on the top as well. It's just like a little feature. It didn't really work. And yeah, in the end, we kind of managed to get it all to kind of fit in. I think everything's useful. I've got to be fair, I didn't actually have a kid on the lot when I was playtesting this. So yeah, take that under consideration. You may need to have to reshuffle a few bits and pieces, but I did also get in the toy chest, so she's got lots of other little bits and toys and things like that, and then another stuffy, although there is one outside in the living space. I wanted one in here as well, and then a few little bits and pieces on the wall. I kind of really like that sort of donut kind of skateboard kind of look into there, and then also some little fairy lights above the windows, and bits and pieces like that, and then also the kind of board out there as well for them, and then just finding the odd little bit of clutter that I really wanted to put in here, and also the phone that I totally forgot when we were doing the living room, because you know, this is me we're talking about in here, and I also thought that piece would work perfectly in here. But now we're going to come and basically ruin this gorgeous apartment. So if you kind of wanted this to be quite a nice apartment, you really just have to get rid of the decals. Everything else is kind of good to go, essentially. It's really just these sort of decals which I have ruined it all with. In here, at least this one is a little bit better than the downstairs apartment that I did in here, but obviously you can play however you want. I set this up to be yucky and disgusting and ugh. In here, I've got to say, the kids' bedroom is probably one of the most grim rooms I think I've probably ever done. I think this is the only one where I've really done a bad kids' bedroom. I did remember last time not to put any of the mould or like the killer spawn and stuff in. So yeah. But here are the screenshots as we are to the end of this video. If you have enjoyed it, then make sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and you can follow me on pretty much all social medias as well. And also here on YouTube, it would mean so very, very much to me. But I will let you go and enjoy these. Bye!